Hi, everyone. This is CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and you're watching another episode of Wyrds, Witches, Witchcraft. And I'm here. It's a pre-recorded video. This is the last pre-recorded video because next week there will be a special live broadcast, and we'll be doing readings with Aaron Lozano from Turtle Heart Tarot next week. And then the following week will be our first live episode. So I'm here with my co-host, Obsidian Fire. Say hello.
Bonjour, bonjour tout le monde. Bon, vous commencez à me connaître maintenant. Je suis Obsidian Fire, la co-animatrice française de CricketSong pour cette saison.
Yay. So we're happy to be here again. So hopefully you are all enjoying these episodes because we're having a wonderful time recording them for you. And we can't wait to go live. I cannot wait. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, and terrifying, but
it's not going to be terrifying. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great to be able to interact with everybody live.
That's
I miss
something that I look forward to.
Yeah, I miss that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be chatting for this next 58 minutes or so about reincarnation. That's so precise. I know, right? Yeah. Well, I have to watch the time today. I'm like strapped for time today. So we are going to be talking about reincarnation, past lives, that whole thought process, that whole idea, the whole concept. So I pulled up a definition of reincarnation. So we can all be on sort of the same page as what we mean by reincarnation. So when I'm looking at Google, I'm seeing it says the rebirth of a soul in a new body, a person or animal in whom a particular soul is believed to have been reborn. So it's, the soul. And we can talk about the definition of what soul means. But that idea of being reborn into a new body or rebirth of a soul into some sort of physical vessel.
Yeah, vessel. That's a good term, I think.
Yeah, because maybe it's not necessarily a human body or an animal body. Maybe it's. So what are your thoughts?
I was thinking, and maybe it's even not on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, if some of us are agreed to say that we are probably not the only form of existence into the universe. So, all right, if we take this, why couldn't we be reborn, reincarnated somewhere else, not especially on Earth, maybe,
right?
And that's what I was just thinking to this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't necessarily think that. Well, and even with. Well, okay. Yes, I agree.
Sorry.
That, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think because we are human beings on Earth at this point that when we reincarnate, that it has to be on Earth in a physical human body too. I don't necessarily believe that every human body is reincarnated into another human being, and every cat is reincarnated into a cat, and every dog is reincarnated into a dog.
I agree. I don't think that either. We, in my point of view, I think we can be reincarnated into a dog and then a human, and then, or maybe there is some kind of scale of progression. I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know. But I think we are not meant to be again a human and a human and a human. And
yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe there is. Maybe there is a progression, but I honestly think. I think that it's going. I think what you are reincarnated into in your next experience would depend upon what you experienced in the current incarnation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if I was born here on Earth in this body, in this vessel, to experience a particular event and I didn't get to because of choices and decisions that I made, then I might be reincarnated into a similar situation again so that I have an opportunity to experience it. And I when I talk about reincarnation, I don't like the idea of lessons. I know some people talk about you have a lesson to learn, and if you don't learn that lesson, because that for me that my feeling is that there is a right and a wrong answer to that lesson, and I don't think that that's the case.
I don't think so. It's more, I think it's more complicated than this. It's probably a process that in our current incarnation, we are not able to understand. Mm-hmm. It's larger than us. It's larger than life too. To use the usual expressions. It's more complicated than this. And so lesson, no. Experiences, maybe. Yeah. To experience something, to grow maybe, but a lesson, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I like experience because it doesn't give us a connotation of right and wrong or the correct way and the wrong way. It's just, it is what it is. And, but I think, and I understand when people use the word lessons, a life lesson. I understand.
I understand. It's easy, I think, to understand why the choice of the word lesson. Of course, it's supposed that there is a good side and not so good side, and I'm not that reluctant to the idea because I am part of the people that like to think there is good kind of everywhere, and we are supposed to attain something greater than ourselves, to learn to be good, a better person, a better maybe soul, if I may say. So I'm this kind of person. I think like this, but that doesn't mean there is a good or a wrong lesson to learn or way to go. It's more complicated than this.
Yeah.
If we start to on the point that there is not one reality, so there cannot be one good lesson to learn, and no, it's obviously gonna be different for each of us.
Right. Why?
That's why I prefer experiences.
Yeah. Why do you think, or what is your thoughts about why we reincarnate?
That's a very good question. I tend to think
because we're both agreeing that we do reincarnate.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I truly think so. And about the why, I tend to think, but it's just my point of view, and obviously I don't have all the answer.
Right.
I don't have a single one, in fact, so don't ask me. But my point of view is, I think we try to be better, to be a source of light into our physical incarnations, to grow, to see things larger, to see through the only 3D dimension. I think we are trying to expand, to grow, and to bring light and help and compassion and understanding, and to transcend our little status of human. I think. But I might be wrong. That's the way I'm trying to live, kind of. But all in all, I'm not Buddhist either. If I have to lose my temper, I will. And I won't be in fear of karma, So
Right. And that's where I was sort of going with this, because, you know, a lot of times, depending on what spiritual path you're on, what philosophy you ascribe to, what religion you belong to, a lot of times reincarnation goes hand in hand with the concept of karma. And I am not one who believes in the idea of karma being the Hindu, is it, or Buddhist, their understanding of karma, meaning, you know, you do good deeds, you have positive karma, you do bad deeds, you have negative karma, and your reincarnation depends on what your karmic balance is. You know, the idea with them is that you have no karma. You have no good or bad karma. You're equal, and then you're able to get out of that circle of reincarnation. I don't believe in that concept. I think when you physically die, when we have physical death, this incarnation ends, then your slate is clean, and then you decide however you decide that when you're dead, whether you're going to incarnate again in a physical vessel, and where on the timeline, what planet, what dimension, wherever you're going to incarnate again in a physical sense, depending on what you have chosen to experience in this new life. I just don't resonate with the idea of karma. I just don't.
I cannot say I do resonate with it, but I cannot say I do not totally. It would be difficult for me to explain because it's not in my mother tongue, so it would be tricky to try to enlighten my own point of view on this. But starting from the point that I think we are trying to learn to be a more brighter soul, even in our physical vessel. Starting from this point, I suppose that when we die, we are becoming whole again. I mean, we are not, our little incarnation isn't in the way anymore. We remember what we have gone through many lives, and we know what all the dimension works and what we are and where we are and what we're supposed to be. I think we remember, we know at this moment when we die. And I tend to think we choose for ourselves what we see, what we've missed. I mean, and then we choose for ourselves a new incarnation to learn, maybe to be more compassionate, or maybe, but we choose, I think we choose that for ourselves. I don't think there is a greater judge.
Right.
You've done wrong. You're gonna burn in hell. Yeah, bullshit. I don't think so. But I truly believe when we cross the veil, we are a greater, a larger, a more wiser version of what we've been in the last incarnation, because we are evolved. We are all the lives we lived. We're greater than that. And then we are able to choose what we need to experience again, maybe, or what new experience that is need to be done for us to grow, to continue to grow.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you say, because I feel like as a human being in a physical vessel like this, we forget. There is almost this restriction. It's like the true self, or the authentic self, or that spirit, or the essence, or whatever you want to name it, the thing that's encased in the physical vessel, is sort of like this big thing that's squished down into a denser vibration. We're a denser vibration of what we truly are, the greater part of who we are. And when we are squeezed into this dense, hard vessel, this physical vessel, the greater understanding, the wider understanding is limited. And I think when we are free, when we're able to go and be free, we take up more space and we understand greater, and we have a wider understanding. And I agree. I think that is definitely when we remember all of our past lives and see all that we can experience for the future. And we decide. I agree. We decide what it is. Now, I feel like we may not decide alone. I feel like we may have others that we decide with. Yeah. And that's where people talk about soul contracts or our soul tribe, our spirit tribe, and you know, being reincarnated with a same group of you know, essences into the next incarnation. So maybe that is where people get the idea of lessons. But I agree with you. There's not just one God or one entity that says you did bad in this life, you now have to, you know, you abused in this life, so now you're going to be a victim of abuse in the next life. I don't feel like it is that simple. I don't think it's that easily explained.
I don't think so either. Which doesn't mean that some souls among the many there is do not choose, in fact, to be, yeah, I was an abuser, so now I need to learn to be compassionate, and then I will be a victim because I need to understand this, to remember this, even in my physical incarnation. Yeah, probably because because I think when we cross the veil, when we are free again, we are whole again, and then we are wiser again, very wise. It's like I don't know how to express this in English. In French, it would be, if someone listened to us, please. I remember that we have a viewer who who speak French. So I will try to say this slowly for you to translate, please. So what I am trying to say is, when we cross the veil, I think we are une version sublimée de nous-mêmes. And I don't know how to translate this in English.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? It kind of paused, so I didn't hear the whole thing.
It paused when I was speaking French. Okay, so again, when we cross the veil, I think we are une version sublimée de nous-mêmes.
Okay.
Which is what I try to express, a bigger, larger, wiser, lighter version of ourselves. And we are then able to decide, and probably not alone. That's true. But we know what we have to accomplish for ourselves, or maybe for our soul tribes, or maybe for a balance of the universe. I don't know. But I think we are able to decide what we need to remember or to learn again. In our very little physical incarnation.
And I think if we sort of like trace it back, and I know we've discussed this in a previous episode, you know, if we look at us as just one little spark of everything, you know, and I think this goes back to how you view, you meaning everybody watching this, how you view your place in the universe. So for me, I believe I am just a speck of the greater all. You know, I'm like, when we were just describing, you know, the gods, you know, there is this big one all, and then there is the gods, the divine gods and the man-made created gods. We talked about that. You know, if we're like down here and the all is up here and we're part of everything, then when we are no longer in a physical body, we have the view of everything.
Absolutely.
So I mean, so if we view it that way, then, you know, returning to the all, we can decide as a collective what this part of the all, named CricketSong, is going to experience in the next incarnation. And what is the benefit of the all in CricketSong reincarnating over here in this physical vessel to experience this? Because I honestly believe our lives and our incarnations are to understand better, to knowledge and expansion and growth and understanding itself through these different incarnations. You know, that's what I feel.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with this. I agree. And I think the process of trying to understand better, in this process, it's also, I suppose, I think, to help others to understand themselves better, their place there, to be open, to empathize, to be in a oh, did you say this? Sorry, it was a long week. Very long month.
No, I agree with what you're saying. The idea that we help each other understand ourselves, which then would help the all understand itself, the one to understand itself from these different perspectives. And going along with that, I think that is why sometimes someone might choose to be the abuser in a relationship. I mean, because being the abuser allows the victim or the one being abused to understand that better. And together, we're working to understand all aspects, the positive and joyful, as well as the pain and suffering aspect, the whole spectrum of everything, the limitless spectrum of everything that there is, all experiences that there are. Because when we're no longer in a human vessel, nothing is bad or good. Everything just is part of what we call the human experience. At least from my perspective. That's how I understand it.
I understand. I understand. I understand. For me, yeah, I think, of course, if there is not one reality, so there cannot be just one answer to a situation. It's more complicated than this. But for me personally, I try to be as good as I can, because I think it's the good way, the honorable way, maybe, to go through life, trying to understand and try to help. But I'm not Buddhist, and I won't lend the other cheek. If someone slap me, I will slap him back. I'm not Buddhist, but anyway, I try to be better, to understand, to maybe comprehend the reason between certain acts, even if they are against me, which doesn't mean I will forgive. Hear me right, I won't. Let's say I probably won't, but I will anyway try to understand why. Where does this individual come from to have been like this, to have acted like this? I try to understand, and I try not to spread negativity, because I think there is enough.
And this is also, I mean, your perspective and my perspective and anybody else watching, our perspectives are very subjective. So when you say you try to be the best or good, obviously it's comparing yourself to yourself, because what's good for you or what's better for you may not be better for me or for someone else watching this. So, right, you know, so I don't want anybody watching this thinking that either of us are saying, as we're trying to be good, we're trying to be better, means that we are comparing ourselves to someone else. It's just a better version of who we are. You know?
Absolutely, because all in all, the only comparison point we have is ourself. So
ideally, but I know there's going to be someone out there sitting there watching going, oh, so Obsidian Fire says that she's trying, I should be better than her or better than them. You know what I mean? Someone is going to think that we have, I mean, because we both are not Christian, we're non-Christian, we don't have a example of who we should be set in front of us. I mean, I'm not looking at Jesus and saying he is my role model. I have to be like him. I have to be as compassionate as Jesus Christ or Buddha. I have to be as compassionate as Buddha. I have to be more compassionate than I was yesterday.
Absolutely. That's,
you know,
yes, that was, I was trying to say. It's about, all in all, we all have different values, standards values. So in the first place, we have, each of us have to know which are our values for ourselves, and it will be different from people to people, and obviously we will disagree with one another because we are not the same, and our reality isn't the same because our value isn't the same. So when I say I try to be better, it's within my values, my standards. Not yours, not everyone else who's watching. It's about me and the view I have on myself.
Right.
What do I think that I've missed?
Right.
What do I think that I did wrong? What and all. And I try to be better, not to have greater success, but to be, in my understandings and in my eyes, a better individual.
And sometimes I think, you know, when we're trying to be better individuals, you know, better our lives, better our understandings, and be more compassionate and more loving and more forgiving and more whatever, caring and kind and all those wonderful words you could put in there. Sometimes it means in order to get there, we have to make decisions that may be difficult and may cause us temporary pain or suffering in order to get to that next level, in order to level up. You know, sometimes we have to play or take on the role of bad guy or, you know, not destructive. And that sort of goes back to the idea of, you know, in order to heal, one must curse. Sometimes we have to do or act in a unpleasant way in order to get to the compassionate. Sometimes, you know, when we come to, or I can even, you know, I'm going to make it even more personal. Sometimes the act of putting a pet or euthanizing a pet is the most compassionate thing you can do.
Yeah, you can do
for that pet.
Absolutely, to end the suffering.
Yes.
And sometimes with some people, you have to be harsh because it's the only way they will start to listen to you.
And sometimes they won't even listen, right?
Yeah, they won't. They will keep, you know, running in circle in their own little reality, and yeah, at one point, to be harsh with this kind of people, to stop to them in their stupid running, would be a compassionate act,
Right.
because you will try to get them more in touch with the world and with themselves, because when most of the time in such a case we can see that the people, the individual isn't listening to himself or to herself anymore.
Right.
That's why there is that kind of repetitive pattern without any issue. Issue.
Yeah. Issue. Yeah. So we have about 30 minutes left, and I want to touch on
Yeah.
two other major points. You brought up a couple of times, and we actually mentioned a couple of times, this not being the only reality. So I want to look at the idea of alternate realities and past lives. Okay, so there's different ways to look at life, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, when we talk about past lives, we talk about it in a very linear way. You know, I'm born, I die, I'm reincarnated, I'm born, I'm dead, I reincarnate. Sort of, and when we talk about past lives, we're talking about lives we lived prior to this life in a very linear way. But we just talked about different realities, right?
Yeah.
So I know, at least for me, and I think we've talked about it briefly, and that the idea of congruent lives, where time, because it's not really linear, we could be living lives at the same time in this idea that time is not linear.
Yeah.
And past lives then may not actually be
Past.
prior, but may
No.
be congruent in a different reality. So talk to me about what your thoughts on that, and how it sort of intertwines with the idea of reincarnation for you.
If this is this non-linear lives, if it is an helix, you know, like
yeah, kind of, yeah.
So maybe we are just maybe we're just on several place and dimension on at the same time. Because okay, let's put it in a different way. When we cross the bay, when we are not incarnated anymore, at least right here, we agree to say that we are larger, wiser, and all. Okay, and if we look at the divine entity, divine gods, I think we almost all think. I think. Don't shoot on me if I'm right. I think that we are agreed that divine gods can be at different place with different people at different time and in the same time. Finally, maybe we are able to do the same. Maybe our soul can be at several places in several incarnation on the same moment. If we consider that time is an illusion and space doesn't exist, not in the way we look at it. So for me, the easy way to understand this is we are different in different lives in the same moment in different space, because there is no space and there is no time, so everything is happening now. But
I agree. So my going on with that, it's sort of like the idea of a past life, or the idea of ghosts, or the idea of, you know, seeing a ghost or a poltergeist, or remembering a past life, maybe are just glimpses of other realities while we're standing in this one.
Maybe we are experiencing those realities why we are here. I'm not sure of it. I'm absolutely not sure, and it's a very difficult idea to get a grab on. So I'm still trying to understand. I won't probably be able to understand, but I'm trying to. But it's a process. I'm trying to understand. I'm not sure. I don't know, but maybe it makes sense.
I
Kind
know
of.
it makes sense to me too, because I mean, when we talk about the veil, when we talk about the veil being thin, when we talk about crossing the veil, when we talk about, you know, moving from this physical reality into death and whatever happens after death, as witches, as practicing witches, you know, when we talk about Beltane and Samhain and the veil thinning and being able to, you know, experience more activity with those, you know, who have passed or who have transitioned or crossed the veil. I mean, if they're living a life at the same time as we're living our life now, and if we believe that ghosts can live right beside us, or just that whole concept, that shows me that there is these different realities, these different
Overlapping
phases.
realities. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
it's overlap. It's overlapping. I think it is, and it yeah, but still, it there is the question about the earthbound spirits. What part of them are being earthbound? Because probably other parts are already elsewhere doing
Right,
something else.
right. Yeah, if you look
So,
at the congruent life, right, right. If,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's a question I'm not able to answer, obviously, but for myself, I mean, I'm not sure.
I wrote a blog post about earthbound spirits. I
Yeah,
don't,
I
yeah.
read it. Yeah.
I'll direct anybody watching this that my take on that, you can be found over on the blog if you check that out.
It's a good post. You should read it.
Thank you.
No, that's true. It's a good post. And that's a question, and it's an interesting question. But all in all, both of us, I think, are agreed to think there is at least overlapping realities and probably multidimensional.
Yeah.
Because if we consider that we have the abilities to do astral projection and to travel in between dimension when we are meditating, we cross kind of this veil. So if we are able to do this into our incarnated body, who knows what we are able to do in the same time in a higher, dimension aspect of ourselves. This is not that surprising, because by astral projection, it means, put in simple terms, it means that our physical body is in one place and we are able to send our, I don't know what you want to call
Astral
it, but
body. Yeah.
yeah, astral body, soul, and I don't know, into another place on the same time. So at this moment, we are here and we are there.
It
But
kind of
it's the
sounds
same.
like you might be an earthbound spirit at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I am. Maybe I am haunting that fucking bitch was
Right. I mean,
right
because
now.
if my thought is, I mean, if we take that further, someone who may not know or be able to discern the difference between an astral projection and a spirit of someone who is either recently deceased or who has not completed the death process, as I like to call it, and a person, you know, interacts with that spirit and they can't discern what it is, they could be thinking they're being haunted by someone who is just astral projected and is interacting with them, or vice versa.
or vice versa.
They may think, I mean, if they don't know you've died and they appeared to me, you know, I may not have thought, I may not know that this person died. I may just think, and I know that they have the ability to astral project, you know, that maybe they're a practicing witch.
Yeah.
And they appear to me, I think that they're just astral projecting. Oh, silly obsidian. She's astral projecting to me again. Get out of my house. Stop pooping on me, you know, kind of thing. What silly witchiness are you doing? I may not realize if something
Yeah.
had happened, you know, I mean, if you're not able to discern the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's why it is a very interesting and very complicated question.
It is. And that's why I think we agree that it's hard for us to understand the complexity and the awesomeness of what we're able to do and accomplish when we are not restricted by a physical vessel. And I mean, some of that I feel like is just we're human beings. So we're always going to have this, you know, restriction because you're taking a very high vibrational frequency and you're manifesting it in a lower vibrational frequency. There's only so much we can comprehend. There's only so much that we're able to do because we're in a physical vessel. And I think as witches, that's the whole idea of transcending the physical vessel.
Yeah, I was thinking
you know,
this, transcending.
Getting into that circle or sacred space or getting into the trance, whatever it is that you do to get into that magical mindset or to get into that place so that we can cast our spells, do our magics, do our workings to manifest what we want to see happen in the physical. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And it's part of the process because all in all, it's always the same process to transcend, to attain a space which is not a space, which is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And in this space, we can manipulate energy because in this state, we are more than our physical body. We are more than just a little human walking on earth. We transcend to try to attain this point where everything is possible because everything is here and now. And I think it's related to the reincarnation concept, but it's too large. It's too great for us to understand right now in our physical body.
Right. Do you?
If we, yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Thank you. If we agree to say that time might be an elixir, so, and if we agree to say that maybe a past life remembrance we might have is probably a piece of a life that is happening right now, which is complicated and interesting, is so there is kind of source of recognition too in it, because let's say I died in fire, and now if we consider that time is a flat line, I died into fire, so I ascend and I reborn, attuning with the element of fire. All right, it's easy to understand on a flat line. But if everything is happening in the same time, why and how? Because I'm probably not dead yet. So there is kind of recognition too in between
You're right. You're not dead yet, but you still have this connection to the element of fire because
and I still remember
in a
that I
previous,
died.
right, right,
You
right,
see? So,
right.
and if we look at
Yeah.
this with this aspect, with this question, so maybe also all the abilities around, you know, clairvoyant, clairaudient, medium, and psychic abilities can be related to the fact that everything is here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm going too far. Sorry.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't know. I've never really resonated with the idea of it being like a spiral, more of a that idea of the Mobius strip and the infinity where it loops over itself and then comes back, is how I sort of envision it, so that, you know, what comes around goes around kind of idea thing. But if you were to undo it and put it flat, you would see that you have traveled on both sides of the strip kind of thing, where there's just not one way. Um, but I do believe in that multi-layered thing
Yeah,
where,
overlapping.
and I do feel like that the decisions that you make here in this reality affect ripple through to the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
realities too.
I
So
agree.
even in your example, if you died in fire, but you're affiliated with fire, you have this resonance and this commune with fire. You may have actually even have been the person to have started the fire that burned you, that you are affiliated with. So I do think there is this connectedness with things that happen in each lifetime. My question for you, we're running out of time.
Oh,
My
sorry.
question for you, no, that's okay. What do you think? And I don't think you and I have ever discussed this before, but what do you think about the idea of a new soul and an old soul, or someone who has only incarnated, this being their first incarnation, and someone perhaps this being their last incarnation, and everything that falls in between that?
A difficult question again. Gonna be hard to answer
Yeah.
in not much time, but I'm not sure about old soul and new soul, because if time doesn't exist, old and new doesn't exist either. You see where I'm coming from? So
Mm.
that's a question I am asking to myself. And for the moment, the only kind of answer I was able to put on was maybe we are misunderstanding the concept of old and new. Maybe it's just about the where. I will try to be more clear. Okay, maybe in the path of one soul, this soul tend to be more on different maybe dimension, or maybe tend to be more on another planet, or and then maybe if we consider this, maybe this soul might be considered a new soul on earth, but maybe it's not a
A new
newborn
soul.
soul.
Right.
Maybe just his or her past was elsewhere and not really around here.
Mm.
That's
I
the only
hadn't
answer. You see?
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. My initial thought was that the new soul doesn't have the remembrance of their previous incarnations for whatever reason, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe it isn't helpful for that person to have the wisdom of any of the previous incarnations, and an old soul has had so many experiences and has worked on remembering from previous or congruent lives and is carrying that wisdom with them, like they're more in tune, they're more aligned with their true authentic self, the core of who they are, and the new soul has sort of a disconnect for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
wondering
an
if it
interesting point of view too. I don't, and maybe you're right. I don't know. I try
maybe it's a
to
combination of everything
of the two. Yeah,
that we
maybe
just
it's
said. Maybe that new soul doesn't have the connection with their past lives or past experiences because they weren't here in the
yeah,
earth dimension.
maybe it's so. I think the possibilities are so immense, so large that it's difficult for us to take a grip on it. It's
Yeah.
we are not
I
equipped to
yeah,
understand.
I agree. I agree. I do think there is something to, because I've met individuals, children who seem to have
Mm-hmm.
an old soul. There's this
Mm-hmm.
knowing, there's this,
Yeah,
you just look at them and
they
you can
bring
tell
wisdom.
that there's something there, some wisdom there, some understanding beyond their years that they're
Mm,
carrying with them. There's something there. And I think we just call it an old soul for lack of a better
better words.
vocabulary or
Yeah.
something.
All in all, it refers to a, a more maybe more ascended soul, maybe more a wiser soul,
Yeah.
maybe more than old, or maybe it's wiser. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know.
something there though.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not deny the fact that obviously there is child or people that seems to have this wisdom,
Yeah.
this precise sight on things, and who have abilities, undeniable abilities,
Yeah.
stronger than some others. And it's yeah, of course there is, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we can truly say they are old, or are they just wiser, or I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
try
either.
to understand. I try to understand, but I don't know. I don't know.
So we only have about 5 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go into too much detail.
Mm-hmm.
But past lives, reincarnation, you feel you've reincarnated,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any memories of any past or congruent lives that you had?
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
many do you know? How many you can remember or have some sort of understanding about?
Some sort of understanding for one, which is not truly a memory, but more than I bring back a fear, and not rational fear, and but huge. I mean, like phobia with no rational explanation whatsoever. And it took me time to understand the reason why, and it came later. So there is this one, and there's others that have managed to um, see bit of it. Two others. One, I was apparently a child with disabilities. I mean, physical
Mm-hmm.
disabilities. And another, I was a man, and I was already kind of a witch. it's it seems that it's not my first experience in the shoes of a witch. It's not the first one, so I have some memories. Yeah, and you?
Yeah, I have some specific I have one that's a specific person that I feel like there's a memory that or a feeling when I went by a cemetery with a gravestone on it that I was pretty sure was me. And then I feel like there was I was a nun of some sort. I worked in a hospital. And then I have memories of being a priestess in a temple in, ancient times. And then I actually have a memory, a very clear memory of me wearing a specific clothing and looking at myself in a mirror and seeing that I looked very different, but I knew it was me. And that was Lemuria. It was prior to, Atlantis, Lemuria, that kind of time. Those are ones I specifically have memories or feelings about. That's mine. I mean, I have blog posts about that too. You could go over to my blog and check them out there for more information. They're older blogs, so you'd have to go through the archive thing and click on it. But
I would take a look. I don't remember.
Well, not only you, but I mean other people watching this, obviously. So yeah, so we're at the end of our time together. So this was fun. If you're watching this, make sure you share in the comments. We love to read the comments about what you thought about the show or your own thoughts, insights, and feelings about it. And if you want, we have a Facebook group, Wyrds, Witches, Witchcraft, over on Facebook. It's a closed group. Just ask to join, and as long as you have a valid, Facebook profile, we'll add you. We'd love to continue this conversation, right, Obsidian?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Come join us. Yes, come join us.
Come talk with us.
Yes.
It's a very interesting topic. I would like to hear everyone's points of view.
Exactly. And if you want to help support Lunar Wisdom and be a sponsor of the show, go check out my Patreon page. You can have access to my self-love blogs, Becoming Witch video series, the Quest Within video series. I think that's all the video series. And there's monthly readings and all that good stuff. There's perks. Go check out Lunar Wisdom's Patreon page. Make sure you connect with me on Facebook, CricketSong and Lunar Wisdom Facebook pages. And make sure you're here next week too, because that's when Aaron Lozano, Turtle Heart Tarot, and I and Obsidian is going to join us. And we're going to do some quick readings for you if you're in the chat, because that will be a live show. So we look forward to doing our live shows. Yay! And that's, I know, right? And that's it for us this evening. I love you all. Blessed be.
Et ben moi aussi. Je vous remercie. Merci de nous avoir suivis. J'espère que vous avez passé un excellent moment en notre compagnie. Et on se revoit la semaine prochaine. Bye bye.
Bye everyone. Blessed be. Mwah.